A little bit about me. About a year ago today, I probably would not have been able to drive to the grocery store in silence, shower in silence, get ready in silence, um, walk my dogs in silence. I was constantly stimulated with my headphones, with my AirPods, with my Beats, with anything to not listen to my thoughts, to not listen to the nothingness. And for so long, I actually did blame it on boredom and how, the society is just always so bored. We're constantly being fed all of these different outlets. Like, we need stimulation. But honestly, now I changed my answer. I think I really was avoiding myself. Because what I've learned and what I kind of want to share with you today is how much inner wisdom we all have. Okay, this is not some woo woo stuff. This is serious. This is how we were made, our design. The answers are all within. All of them. You can be out on a date, and if you really tap in and just feel your body, you can know, is this person right for me or is it not? You'll feel some disease. You'll feel some discomfort. You will feel your body telling you no. And what I have a problem with in this world and in my world is that it's very hard to get in silence unless it's done intentionally. And what I've been opening myself up to and what I've been doing is, keeping my phone out of the bathroom when I do shower so I'm not tempted to play music or listen to a podcast. Or, when I do drive somewhere, I will intentionally not connect my phone to Bluetooth to, force myself into silence. And what I've found is that when I tap into the silence more often, I am so much more fulfilled. And I know that a lot of people, and maybe you are one of them, have this notion that you're so afraid of your thoughts, but if you keep running away from them, it's going to cause more turmoil in your life. We need to listen to what our thoughts are saying. They might be scary, they might be uncomfortable thoughts, but if you don't face them now head on, they are going to multiply and grow bigger and bigger and bigger and cause disease in your body. It's a whole different topic, but your thoughts and the inner, again, turmoil can really create discomfort in your physical body. But I encourage you to start looking within, to start noticing your thoughts, check in with yourself. I know that this is something that's not natural to us, especially in today's day when, everything about this world is telling us to look outward, to check, outward our phone, check this, look at that. It's all like screaming at us to pay attention to the outside world. But the inner world is where the magic happens. When you really tap in to what is inside, you have this whole different perspective of life. I really put this to practice this past weekend when I was in Chicago. I don't know about you guys, but when I travel, when I go somewhere outside of my familiar environment, it's a lot easier for me to be present. And for some reason, this trip, I was very able to go within and check within when I felt uncomfortable. I was able to notice when somebody would say something, I would feel it in my body. I'd feel myself contract. I would feel myself want to react. So, what I've learned recently is like, I had been living in a state of reaction, of reactivity. And now that I'm like noticing that in my body before I actually react, I'm noticing how much I'm stopping from coming out of my mouth because, that's just the nature of us as human beings. We want to react. We have this language that we're able to, verbalize anything that we're feeling. But if we're tapping into this inner field more often, we might realize, oh, I actually don't want to say that. Oh, actually, let me take a pause. Let me take a breath. How can I respond in a way that's going to create peace in this situation, in this conversation? And there is something. I'm reading the book The Power of Now for the second time. It is life changing. Please read it if you have not. But Eckhart Tolle, the author, mentioned something called a pain body, and that is when um, something basically takes over, an entity. It is still you, but it's the ego. It's something that feels discomfort and honestly wants you to feel uncomfortable. There's a part of us, as hard as it is to wrap our minds around, that actually wants to feel tense. It wants to feel like it's getting something, like it's starting the argument, it's getting somebody riled up. But that's not our true nature, okay? So if we that's not our true nature. It used to be a big part of mine, but now I'm realizing I actually want to have peace in my relationships. And a big problem as to why I was not having peace is because I wasn't pausing before I spoke. I wasn't actually checking in with myself first and then coming to the conversation, coming to the situation. So I think all around the message of this little video is let's tap in more, okay? The inner world, it may be scary, but it's beautiful. It's where all your answers are. If you are feeling stressed out and anxious and you're living life very uncomfortably, look within. And you may be like, well, how do you look within? Get in silence, like I was saying. Maybe even just pull out a journal or a paper and a pen and sit and have your thoughts come up. I'm not even telling you to meditate and have all your thoughts go away, because honestly that happens with practice. But sit and let your thoughts come to you and write down the recurring thoughts. Write down the thoughts that are happening. If you just sit there on a random Tuesday at 10 a.m. and you observe your thoughts, that's going to give you a really good example of what kind of thoughts are circulating in your head throughout life. So check in with yourself. I did this practice the other day where I did that, and instead of labeling each thought, I labeled it as, was I thinking about the past, the present, or the future? And then if I was, say I was thinking about the past, I would label it past, and then I would say negative or positive. And it really gave me a good idea of what my thoughts consisted of. A lot of my thoughts were negative, and that's crazy because I feel like I'm such a positive thinker, but a lot of my thoughts were negative, and they were about the past or the future, being anxious about something or negative or thinking about something. Like, it's so crazy when you actually observe your thoughts. And what's crazy about that practice is you'll get so lost in a thought you'll forget that you're actually doing that little experiment. But I do encourage you to try it because like I've been saying, is that inner self is where the answers are. And once you can get in tune and know what kind of thoughts you're having, you'll be able to navigate how to correct those thoughts or start feeding yourself new thoughts. And that's when it comes into like affirmations. Little example, I had huge money blocks, just about a year ago. I had them pretty much my whole life, where I thought money was hard to earn, money was hard to keep. I had to hoard my money. I could not give because I was afraid I didn't have enough. I did practices that really resolved that, but some things that I say are things like, money comes to me easily, effortlessly, and often. It is easy to make money. I deserve money. Like, saying those things out loud literally are feeding my brain. My brain doesn't know. It just knows that I'm putting an intention in saying something. So it's like feeding my brain like good positive thoughts. And now I don't really ever, barely have anxious thoughts about money because I force fed my brain with these thoughts. Try this out, let me know what you think, and I'll possibly see you in the next video. Bye.